Hey Tracy, lovely to see you again today for another exciting episode.
Yeah, I'm always looking forward to it. I say the same thing every week. I just love doing what we do and talking about it. And yeah. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk a little bit about intuition today.
Yes, I think that's a really important part of what we do. It's like if you take that away, what do you have?
Exactly. Exactly. So we have talked about all the Claires in one of our first episodes.
Yeah.
So we won't go too much into that today because it's worth going to listen to that particular episode.
Oh, absolutely, yes, because we don't want to keep covering the same ground, but it is important. Um, and I think maybe it would be worth starting with how we communicate with our intuition. I know that everybody's different, but I don't
Hmm.
know how they're wired. But if they can understand how we're wired, I tend to find that my students have lots of aha moments and go, oh, didn't know about that. So maybe we go with that first.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it's generally a thought.
Okay.
Which so I'm clairsentient and claircognizant. So it's the thoughts that come in. And sometimes I do ignore it. So I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I think something, I think, oh, I'm just imagining that, as you do. And then something happened with it. Damn, I knew that I shouldn't have done that, or I should have done this. So
Yeah.
for me, it's very much a thought more than a feeling.
Okay. Is that not clairaudience though, the thought?
No, I do it to like claircognizance because it's like a knowing to me,
Okay.
right? Because that thought comes forwards and it's like, when you know something and you ignore it.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like I knew I shouldn't have done that. So I relate it to claircognizance, but that
Okay.
doesn't mean that it's not clairaudience. It's
Mm.
just how it's just my understanding of it.
Okay, because for me, I mean, I am very clairaudient, which is clear hearing. And when my intuition communicates with me, it is quite often, oh, I'll take that umbrella with me. And then the conscious brain goes, oh, you'll only get fed up carrying it around, don't take it. And then you get wet because you didn't listen to the first voice.
Yeah.
And for me, I get it in a specific part of the body as well. So
Mm.
my intuition is like this little whisper at the bottom right of my head going, take an umbrella. And then there's this loud voice in my front left temple that's like, oh, don't be stupid. You'll only lose it. Leave it somewhere. Or you'll just get fed up carrying it round, blah, blah, blah. And then it talks me out of it if I listen to it. So
Yeah.
that's really loud. So for me, the intuition is a little whisper, but it's very much words. Um,
Mm.
whereas the ego is very loud, which is how I know the difference. And
Yeah.
I don't take too much notice of the ego voice anymore. And occasionally, if I'm doing yes, no stuff, my physical no, like nothing is happening. And my
Mm.
physical yes, there's like this kadunk in my stomach. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a yes for that one. Okay. So for me, it's either a physicality or it's words, which I always had pegged as clairaudience. Um,
Yeah.
and as I said at the start, everyone's going to be different. So if you're thinking, I don't get any of that, then you need to look for what you are getting instead. Is it words, thoughts, feelings, pictures, or a knowing? Because once you identify it, it's really important and it's really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you may get that kind of like tingling in your stomach or your stomach sinking. Um, or, you may feel warm when something feels in alignment with you, and your intuition is speaking to you. So there's like a million and one different ways that it can show up. And as Tracy said, we are all very different. And it takes a little bit of practice to understand what is intuition and what is your ego
Yeah.
speaking to you. Now, when I think about ego, I think about that gremlin sitting on your shoulder, right? That
Yeah.
wants to talk you out of everything. And, its job is to keep you safe,
Mm.
right? So that's kind of the image that I get. And I know when um ego is talking because it feels heavier.
Yes. Yeah, it does for me as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's learning to trust those really small hints and um, perhaps even ideas that come forward and how they show up in your body. So it's going to take a little bit of practice.
Yes. Yeah. You sort of need to do a full body scan and be cognizant of how you feel. Like, are you tired? Are you uplifted? You know, what's going on? And then do that work and see what's different. You know, do I feel heavier? Do I feel lighter? Do I feel hotter? Do I feel colder? You know, just because you've got to feel that really subtle shift from one state to another. And I
Mm.
think for a lot of people that I've taught over the years, their biggest problem is the expectation is here and the reality is here. And because they're looking for something major, if it's not doing that, they completely miss the subtle. And I know I've done the same over the years. So, you know, I'm just teaching them the benefit of what I've been through, you know. So I do honestly believe that we need to just take that moment to check in with ourselves and figure out what's going on, and then get into the intuitive and check in again and see what's changed.
Absolutely. I mean, there are loads of things that can stop us from connecting with our intuition. And I think that's also important to understand that, if we're not in this present moment, we can miss all the signs, we can miss all the synchronicities, the intuition, and all of those different things, especially if we're in fear or trauma response
Yeah.
or, all of those big things. Self-sabotage is also another one. So, for me, I've learned that if I'm in, my nervous system is not where it needs to be, then I can miss the intuitive signs that I'm wanting, perhaps that I need, because I'm not fully present in this moment.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's important as well. If you're caught up in a lot of drama or, toxic relationships, all of those things, it can be so hard to hear your intuition.
It can, and I think, you know, more so than ever, do you not think that we're becoming more and more overthinkers?
Yeah.
And that totally blocks my intuition. It's like my brain, it doesn't necessarily catastrophize, which is when you go, oh, you know, and I might get blown up or I might fall over. You know, you start extrapolating the worst potentials that could happen. But my brain will go, what about this? And what about this? And then there's so many options. I can't feel
Mm.
my intuition anymore. And I'm seeing more and more people where that is definitely an issue.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I think, we've also been taught maybe to be logical and not to
Mm,
trust ourselves, I think is a big one. But also, if we're looking for validation outside of ourselves, then we're not going to be able to hear our own intuition, right? We're just, looking after everyone else, people pleasing, all of those different things. And that can block your intuition as well because you're expecting someone else to tell you what to
yeah.
do or what to feel or what to say or, all of those different things. So there are many things that block our intuition, like being in survival mode. So burnout, stress, disconnection to self, I think is a big one. So learning to trust your intuition is very much about reconnecting to yourself. And then, everything that you said, Tracy, scanning your body and seeing how you feel in this moment and then asking yourself questions and feeling or hearing or experiencing something different.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I do with my students is I get them to build up what I call the trust bank.
Hmm.
Because when we just go through life, we pick out the bits. You go, oh, you know, everybody hates me, I'm going to eat worms. And you pick out all the bits that feed that narrative of everybody hates me.
Yeah,
Or if you have the view that you're a really lucky person, you pick out all the bits that support you being lucky and you forget all the things that didn't go well.
yeah,
But it's there's no measure, you're not counting. Whereas if you write it down in your spiritual development journal and you look back, you can see, oh my God, I've documented a dozen times here that my intuition said to do this and I did it and it worked out, or I didn't and I wish I had. But either way, I can see that my tuition was leading me in the right direction. um,
Mm,
and I think we spoke about it last time. I just did an exercise with my guys in my development circle with pendulums, and we ran
mm.
out of questions. So we decided to ask, would Prince Andrew lose his title of prince? And literally within 2 weeks, we got the news that he'd been stripped of his title of prince. Well, that
Wow.
massively fed their trust bank.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas if they hadn't have written that down, okay, that was quite a biggie, so you probably wouldn't forget that. But all the little ones,
Yeah.
you forget about them,
Yeah.
and then you still haven't got any more trust. Whereas the more you document it and the more you read it back and see how often you were right, and if you were wrong, why, because I didn't listen to it or I misunderstood it or whatever,
Yeah.
you eventually can see how well you're doing. And everyone, I don't know how, anyone that this hasn't worked with, they will start to trust it and act on it more because they've got the evidence that it has worked
Mm.
so many times before. Whereas without that log, you just keep going. Um,
Yeah.
so I honestly do think that just jotting stuff down and time it and date it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think, that's so important that we have something to look back on,
Yeah.
right? So whenever I'm working with students, we always start with where are you now,
Yeah.
right? Because that's so important. If you don't know where you are, you don't know how much progress you've made, right? Because life can get in the way. It gets in the way for us too,
Oh, gosh.
we're not perfect in any way, right? But we take the time to tune and hone our gifts to make life a little bit easier for ourselves, to be in alignment with what it is that we want and where we want to be. And trusting our intuition is a massive part of that. So having a journal of when you had those intuitive hits and you ignored them and the results of that, and when you actually listen to them and you had amazing results, it's going to boost your mood. It's going to, boost your trust in what it is that you're doing and how it works for you. Now,
Yeah.
everyone has intuition,
Oh, of course, yeah.
right?
But
We're not
no,
special.
no, no. But I think the problem is that people do go, oh, well, it's all right for Susie and Tracy. They've got really good intuition. Well, I didn't used to have. You
No,
know,
we've worked at it.
yeah, I didn't just wake up one day like totally on the ball. And 9 times out of 10, I hear it, I listen to it, act on it, and everything's fine. Once in a blue moon, I don't, and it doesn't happen very often now because I know what's going to happen when I get that little nudge. But I'm human, so I do have the odd time. But generally speaking, it comes and I listen to it. But that's taken
Yeah,
a long time to get to that stage. And
yeah, for sure.
I think a lot of the people that I speak to, their biggest issue is not understanding which is the voice of intuition and which is ego. And ego isn't all about, aren't I fabulous, wonderful? Ego, the polar opposite of that is, oh, I'm not good enough, I don't believe, I don't trust, and then
Yeah,
everything in between. And so when we work out what that intuition is like, what it feels like, sounds like, looks like, then we can identify it more readily.
mm,
And I think the lesson, like I read for a lot of people like you do. And, the general theme is, well, I was dating this person, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, but on the first date, what did your intuition say? Was it going, don't have a second date? And did you override it because they were gorgeous or they were wealthy or your libido was talking to you instead? And they'll often go, yeah, there was a little voice that was going, something not right about this. They're too perfect. And then it turns out they're a full raging narcissist and they're stuck with them for 5 years or whatever.
yeah,
You know, I always say to them, look, you have to take the lesson. The lesson was that your intuition told you what to do and you overrode it for
Yeah.
whatever reason. So take that lesson, don't beat yourself up about it, learn from it, and next time you hear your intuition, listen to it and act on it.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I mean, we have to get it wrong sometimes, right? So that we learn.
Well, yeah, it's when we don't learn from it that's the problem. You know,
Yeah.
we're going to keep doing the same stuff and having, the same dodgy outcomes and problems and chaos and everything else, then that's on you.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I just think that the key is to monitor it, observe it, and document it. And then you'll shift from, I don't have it, I don't understand it, I don't trust it, to, okay, I'm aware of it. I may not always get it right, but now I know what I'm looking for. And that's what
Yeah.
the transformation is all about. It's not about going from I'm getting nothing to I'm an adept and an oracle and everything else.
Yeah.
It is just about, I call it your sat nav. It's our internal sat nav. Do I
Yeah.
take this job over here? No, it looks fabulous, but I don't feel it's right for me. Do I date this person over here? The packaging looks good, but something doesn't feel right. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really key learning point.
It is, yeah. I mean, everything here is to teach us, right? To help us to grow, evolve, expand. So we have to get things wrong in order to get things right, further down the line. And your intuition is going to be subtle,
Yeah.
right? Ego is going to be more forceful, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
that is one way that you can determine which one is speaking to you. But also, let's talk a little bit about how to build intuition because, a lot of us are caught up in daily life, right?
Yeah.
We've got kids to get to school or builders building something or, whatever. And we can get distracted and we can get um, kind of all consumed in everything that is going on. So, I think talking about, different ways that we can practice working with our intuition would be really, really helpful. So, things like meditation, quiet time, those kind of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. And, meditation is not going to make you psychic. It's not going to make you intuitive, but it gives you that space to let that come up to hear it. Whereas when we're like, oh, I've got to get dinner, I've got to get a birthday card for my Uncle David, oh, I've got to make sure I don't miss that bus. And you're like, do. Where the hell are you going to hear that intuition? And that was
Exactly.
always my problem. My problem was always I was so busy, there was no time to hear it unless I went to a development circle.
Yeah.
But going once a fortnight was never going to, move me on that quickly. What
Yeah.
about yourself?
So for me, at the beginning, it was definitely a daily practice,
Hmm.
right? In order to learn and grow. I used to get the biggest intuitive hits, right? And they were not nice. They were
Right.
not nice intuitive hits just because of my situation. And that's what led me down the path. So they were big, they were major, they were you're gonna get suicide phone calls tonight. So, be aware,
Yeah.
right? And of course they would come in. So I would literally sit there waiting for them. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't go to sleep because they're always in the middle of the night. Um, and from there, it's like, right, okay, so this can be my guidance. This is what is helping me to understand what is going on in my life, what's working, what's not working. So, working with, I'm no good at meditation. I try very, very hard. Okay. It is not my forte. I will either not be able to go into meditation or I will fall asleep. There's no middle ground for
Yeah.
me. So, I find that quiet time works for me the best way. So just having some nice music, some candles, a journal, and just tuning in and listening to what's going on in my body, asking questions to
Yeah.
see what the feeling is or what the thought is that comes up around
Hmm.
that to help me to move forward. But I also use oracle cards.
Yeah, they're a really good way. And in the past, I don't know about you, when I've done that, sometimes I've put the cards out and it's just felt like, no, no, that's not right. And
Yeah,
that's my intuition overriding the tool that I'm using, and have to trust that as well. But I think just listening to what you were saying about meditation, I think that's really important
yeah,
because so many people meditation isn't for them.
Mm.
There are different types of meditation. Just going for a walk with no phone plugged in. You can have it in your
Yeah.
pocket turned off, but you don't want to be plugged into it. No podcast, no music, no nothing. Just going for a walk and having that space where we can allow our head to empty out the, oh, I didn't do the washing, I've got to get my uncle a birthday card, and just kind of
Yeah.
let it go. And then that space that comes in behind it is where stuff can come up, like your intuition. So yeah, if meditation doesn't work for you, then try a moving meditation or quiet time, just where you're not busy, busy, busy.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, walking is a great one, except I have to walk a great big white fluffy dog. So I have to pay attention because like we're in fields for deer and boar and any other animal because he could suddenly go, right? And he would pull me over without a doubt.
Okay.
So I found that, I can't go for a walk and not take the dog. That would be really mean. So I found that doesn't work for me, but quiet time, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to find what works for you. With
Yeah.
this stuff, there is not a one size fits all solution.
Yeah.
And so if you have to go and sit at the bottom of the garden with a cup of tea and just escape the madhouse, then that's fine. That works too. Um,
Absolutely. Or the bath, candles, incense, just it's about making time for yourself in the best way that feels aligned with you. Now, for me, it's candles, it's incense, it's essential oils, it's all of
yeah.
the things because that's giving me time for self-love, self-care,
Yeah.
and allowing then the intuition to come forwards.
Yeah. And even if it's only 10 minutes, 10 minutes
Mm,
is better than no minutes.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I always set my students little intuitive games, like, because your intuition is like going to the gym. You can't
Yeah.
do it once and then go, brilliant, I'm now Arnold Schwarzenegger. You
Yeah.
have to keep doing it. And so I get them to do things like, if you're going to work and you've got a row of lifts or elevators, as the Americans call them, work out which one your intuition says is coming first. Don't
Yeah.
look at the numbers and go, oh, that one's nearest in terms of floors, so it's going to be that one. Go with your intuition, because that one might get stuck and then another one arrives. So
Yeah.
things like
Exactly.
that are a good game to play. You can be in the queue at the supermarket, and when you walk past the tills, you don't have to actually be in the queue. Look and see which one you think is going to move the quickest. And it doesn't matter if it's the longest one. If that's what your intuition says,
Yeah.
then let it, have its free reign. I'm not a great one for watching the news. However, there are things that come up in the news where you can let your intuition say, oh, I think that was done by the boyfriend, the husband, the girlfriend, whatever.
Mm.
Or, I think that was a case of mistaken identity and they firebombed the wrong house. Just what comes up if you are going to watch the news, and
Yeah.
jot it down, because I know in the past when someone's asked me what I think about something and I've told them, I was right, but I was wrong, because I didn't know the story. I didn't know
Mm.
exactly what had got on. And I said, oh, it was the father that did it. And it turned out to be the mother's boyfriend, who was the stepfather in all other terms. And the girl that had gone missing, I think it was Shannon Matthews, she viewed him as the dad,
Mm.
even though he wasn't actually. So I was
Yeah.
right, but if you'd have looked at it in black and white, it's like, no, it's the grandmother's ex-partner who's now dating the daughter, and I'm like, oh, okay. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known where I'd gone wrong with that. So if you're gonna do
Yeah.
it, either do it properly or just don't do it. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Cars is another good one. If you're on a journey,
Yeah.
be careful if you're driving, but decide what color car you're going to see most of, or what model car you're going to see most of, or
Yeah.
what car's going to come around the corner next. Those sorts of things. They're all little games that you can play,
Mm.
that
Yeah.
your intuition will just go, it's going to be this.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. They're great ideas to start building. And there are lots of people on YouTube and all of those things that do, use your intuition to see what crystal I'm holding in my hand, or, those kind of things. So, that's something you can practice with your kids and your partner and all of those different things as well. You can also ask for signs. right? Because that's about awareness and bringing in that intuition.
Yeah.
So, asking to see a peacock or, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
For me personally, I find that feathers and coins are just too um, easy. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? So,
Yeah.
yeah, ask for something unusual to show up,
Yeah.
then just be open to where it can come through. It could be someone talks about a peacock, or you see a peacock, or a card arrives with a peacock, or whatever. So that's a good way to start opening up your awareness to being able to see what is around you and being in the present moment, and that's going to help to open your intuition as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I love the ones where you can just pick something really random and ask for confirmation of something. And I
Yeah,
generally go for something really weird and wonderful, like a pyramid or an elephant. You're not going to get many of those in Kent,
yeah,
or a flamingo or something. And it always amuses me. And it will come in the most bizarre ways. It might come on the side of a bus. It might come down the feed on Facebook. I've put on TV, and Ant and Dec have done the stage up, and it's all elephants. And I'm like, there you go, then that'll be a big 10-4, you know.
yeah.
So you can be really creative and really fun. And I always say to people, if you're a puppy breeder, it is no
Mm.
good asking to see puppies as confirmation, because you're going to have them around you all the time.
All the time. Exactly. Exactly. And I feel the same for feathers and coins because there's birds everywhere and we've all got money, right? So, yeah, be unusual. Pick a specific flower or, a specific animal that perhaps is not native to your garden.
Yeah.
you know, that you're going to see. You might go for stripes or I don't know, whatever. But it's a good way to really start being aware of what's going around you. And when you're aware, you can start to listen to your intuition.
Yeah.
I think another thing also is when we're trying to trust our intuition, when we're, trying to make that connection, we need to go with the first thing that came in before the mind has time to start talking us out of it.
Oh God, yeah. Or talking into something else completely. Yeah.
Exactly. It's that first feeling, sound, whatever it is, however it shows up for you, that's the answer. So if you're asking yourself questions and you get an amazing feeling or picture or whatever, that is your answer,
Yeah.
right? Ego is going to come in with you're not good enough, you don't know enough, whatever it may be, because it wants to keep you safe. So if you're asking a question like, um, shall I change my job?
Mm.
Right? And your intuition came in with, yes, great idea. And then ego's coming in with, what do you want to do that for?
Yeah.
You're not going to be safe. Let's stay where we are, basically.
Yeah.
Right? So you've got to listen to that first hit in whatever way that shows up for you.
Yeah, and you may not always like it, because, like you say, you might think, "Oh, should I change jobs?" And then the fear kicks in. You're like, "Yeah, but by the devil I know." And it's okay to have that reaction, because,
Mm,
like you say, that is trying to keep you safe. But then it's okay to trust that, because you're not doing anything. You haven't suddenly handed your notice to your boss. You're just making that decision. You're going to look around.
mm,
So take the pressure off yourself and just go, no, I'm going to look. I'm going to see what's out there, and then I'm going to do what feels right. And you might look and there isn't anything, and it might make you appreciate what you've got now. Now, that doesn't mean that your intuition was wrong, but your intuition was guiding you to get that confirmation. Actually, there's nothing out there. The pay's worse than I'm on. The travel's awful. I need to improve how I feel about what I've already got.
mm,
And, maybe even come up with some ideas to improve the job role or the job experience. So it isn't always about getting the outcome that you were expecting,
mm.
you know?
100%.
And sometimes over the years, when I've got really fed up, I've looked at jobs and I've gone, oh my God, you know what? Actually, I might as well just stick with what I'm doing. It's less hassle. And then I've just gone and reinvented it so that whatever was not making me happy made me happy. So I think it's about understanding that the universe works in a very strange way.
Yeah.
Okay. And so sometimes we might avoid dealing with a problem in our relationship, and we go, I don't know, maybe I just need to finish this relationship and move on. But that's
Mm.
actually because you don't want to face that little problem that needs talking about. And actually, when you think about it, you think, do you know what? Actually, my relationship isn't that bad. I just need to iron out the fact that I'm not happy about this, or they do this, or whatever it is, and recognize and be grateful for what you have got.
Yeah.
And sometimes, in just recognizing that what you've got is actually flipping good, it completely changes your energy, it completely changes your mindset.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's easy to assume that our intuition has steered us wrong because we didn't change anything. But actually, we changed a lot by listening to that intuition. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. And I think also, when we're in a state of, issues and problems, we focus on the issues and problems. So we call in more issues and problems
Yeah.
because like attracts like.
Yeah.
But when we focus on the positives within a relationship, then we bring in more positives, and then that makes it more easy. It makes it easier to to deal with perhaps the one or two things that aren't quite in alignment, and the one or two things that you would like to fix because you're in a more positive energy rather than in perhaps a doom and gloom energy where nothing's working and everything's a problem. When we change our energy and our frequency into something positive, being grateful for what we have within the relationship, it becomes easier to work on those few little things that
Yeah.
are not quite in alignment.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think the key is to get rid of the expectation of the outcome. Our intuition is there to help keep us on the right path.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's tempting to look at the field on the right where the grass is greener, but then come and get guided back to the path, because that is important. And the outcome that the intuition is trying to deliver us just isn't always what we expect it's going to be.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's almost like, when you take the kids to the bowling and they put the bumpers out so the ball doesn't go in the alley, in the gully. I sometimes think that that's a little bit like intuition. It's not trying to take you off course
Mm.
drastically. And sometimes it needs to kind of keep you on that path, but you need those bumpers out to keep bumping you back into the center so that
Yeah.
you keep going rather than disappearing off a tangent. So it's a very subtle thing. And I think that that's very key because it's so easy to miss it when it's subtle.
100%. And I think the universe is here to guide us on a path. We have made agreements of what we're here to do and all of those things. And I think if we keep steering off too much, those bumpers are just going to keep us kind of in a wide lane, but keep us perhaps a little bit more focused because we don't always know exactly what it is that
Yeah.
we're here to do, right? It takes practice, it takes intuition, guidance, perhaps working with the Akashic records and all of those things. So we may not see the bigger picture yet. So,
Mm.
these bumpers can take us kind of step by step without veering off the path completely. Um, and we still may not know where we're supposed to be, but we're taking small steps towards where we're supposed to be, I guess is the best way of saying it. Um, but for me, it's about the journey,
Yes.
right? Because
Yeah.
once we get to the destination, it's like, okay, I'm here, so what now? What now,
Absolutely.
right? Like I've worked my life for this, and it's like, oh. So it's very much about the journey and the mistakes, the lessons, the knowledge that we've learned along the way, the people that we've met, the way that we have grown and expanded on that journey.
Yeah. And, really the end result, the end of the journey is the ascension process. We're here to tick all
Mhm.
the boxes and then ascend and become pure energy.
Yeah,
So that's probably going to be the most boring bit once we're just pure energy floating around. So
yeah,
this is all the fun stuff, even if it doesn't feel like it at the time. And, I appreciate there are a lot of people struggling with a lot of things. And,
Mm.
we were talking before we were recording about the stuff that's going on. So, just like everybody else, we've got things that try and derail us,
Yeah.
but we have to trust that intuition to go round the obstacles or whatever, to keep going and not let them derail us.
Yeah.
But the journey is the whole thing. It's what we're here for. Our soul came here to learn and grow. And if we had a wonderful life with no hiccups, would we learn as much?
Would we be bored?
Oh God, yeah, most likely, yeah.
Yeah, I think life would be a little bit boring. And all those obstacles are there for a reason. They're there for a purpose. And yes, they can be destructive,
Yeah.
right? But they're there for a reason. And once you've overcome that obstacle, life becomes a little bit easier for a while.
Yeah. And it's, what did I learn from that obstacle? Should I listen to my intuition? Or I learned independence. I learned to have strong boundaries. I learned not to be swayed by other people's logic. You
Mm,
know, and the one I see the most, it does make me smile, even though it drives me nuts as well. If I'm driving, my other half will go, "Where are you going?" I'm going, "Well, I'm going this way." "Well, why are you not going that way?" And I'm like, "Because my intuition's telling me I need to drive this way." "Oh yeah, but we always go, yeah, but you're being logical. I don't want to follow the route you would normally take. My instincts are telling me to go this way."
this way. Yeah.
And if I give in and go his way, I'll hit traffic. And I'll be like, "Why didn't I just listen to my intuition?" But
Yeah.
well, it's the same for everyone. It's not unique to him. We don't have other people's intuition. So we can only trust our intuition.
Yeah.
And if he's working logical, that's fine for him. But if his intuition was saying, "Don't go this way," I don't know whether that would work for me or not, because his learning path is different to my learning path. So
Yeah.
it always makes me smile when those things crop up, even though, as I say, they drive me nuts, because we're two different beings having
Yeah.
our own separate existences. So we're not going to necessarily get the same intuition. Although saying that, when big major events are about to happen, like the tsunami in Thailand in
Mm,
2002, the towers coming down, loads of people had the same intuitive nudges, whether they drew pictures, had dreams, whatever. So
mm.
there are times when there is a collective, but
Yeah.
generally speaking, everyone's going to get their own experience. It's not going to necessarily um, be the same. Like, we might be doing something and we might both pick up the same bit of information and agree on something, but it will have come
Yeah.
to us completely differently.
Yeah. 100%. So there's so many different ways to reconnect.
Mm,
Right. And I think, that's part of the journey is reconnecting to yourself
yes. Yeah.
primarily. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, you've got to learn to trust yourself, especially when other people are saying, "Well, are you mad? Why are you doing that?" And it's like, "Well, because it just feels right."
Yeah.
And, at some point, it will most likely come to light that you were right and they weren't on the same page as you. It doesn't mean they were wrong. But it's very easy when you're feeling drawn to do X and everyone else is going, "No, no, no, I don't think so."
Yeah.
Then go with the herd and then wish later on that you'd done what felt right.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, when I look at my move to Italy, obviously my family will know, what do you want to do that for? That's crazy. Why?
Yeah.
And I followed my intuition and we're here and we have a completely different life.
Yeah.
And like we've been here nearly 10 years, which is just crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
I bet
Like,
they're all jealous now, even though they thought you were crazy.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. They've all got great holiday destination, haven't they?
Yeah. Yeah. So now they don't think you're crazy. They've forgotten that. But again, that was them being fearful of change and, oh, what if it goes wrong? Well, if it goes
Yeah.
wrong, I'm back again then, you know?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I've got no mortgage, no bills, no credit cards, no
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have that if I was still in Kent, would I?
And,
No, never.
you have to do what's right for you, even
Yeah.
when it doesn't feel right to everybody else. But when you don't have that trust in your intuition, you
Mm,
are going to get talked into things or
yeah.
out of things that go against your intuition. And I think that's a societal thing. We want to all be together, but that
Yeah.
herd mentality doesn't always work.
No, absolutely. And like from my personal point of view, I get like in this situation, I actually get more quality time with my children than I did in the UK.
which is crazy.
Yeah, because they're here. They're not going off and seeing friends and going to football practice and going to dance and, doing all the things. They are here for a few weeks of the year, which
Yeah.
then means that, they're fully involved
Mm.
in, what's going on. So, that's worked out really, really well.
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent. And that's a
So,
really good example of why you've got to listen to your intuition and just do it. Just do
yeah,
what feels right. Don't.
exactly. Otherwise, we'd, still be paying two mortgages probably. And, and all of the things and all of the bills and worrying about the cost of living
Yeah.
and generally struggling where, we got an intuitive hit when we were in Rome. We felt we were at home and this is
Yeah.
what we needed to do. So that's what we did.
Yeah.
So, but there've been plenty of times I haven't listened.
Oh God, yeah. Go on, then give me some examples. Mine are really boring, like, not paying attention and coming off at a different exit, just like really boring stuff.
Oh yeah, just really, really stupid stuff. Like, walking past something and think, oh, I should grab that because I'm going to need it. And think, well, I'm not doing anything that like remotely, needs that. And then 5 minutes later, no, I should have picked that up.
Yeah, that's what mine are like, silly little things like that. But as I said earlier, I do listen 99.9% of the time now, so I don't get so many of those.
Yeah,
But it is mostly the small things. But one of the things I always say though is sometimes when you're being prompted by your intuition and it feels completely illogical, like, oh, I really need to go to Tesco's, but I don't need anything, just go anyway.
yeah,
Because you might bump into someone's car, and whilst you're swapping the insurance details, you fall madly in love and get married and have kids. Or you might see a poster for a job interview and you're like, oh my God, that's
yeah,
the job that I've been looking for. You might bump into an old school friend and reconnect, or you might hear something from someone. I overheard at a party once that someone was selling their house. I've been living in this house now for 22 years as a result of that,
yeah,
you know. And it's the only party that these people ever had and ever invited us to. And at the party, we overheard the conversation, made an agreement to come and have a look at it, and bought it,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So we listen to that intuition. And so it can seem really random,
Mm,
like you always go to Greg's for lunch and you suddenly feel compelled to go to the private little bakery down the road. There's a
mm.
reason. So just learn to go, I don't know what, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to go with the flow. What's the worst that can happen? It's an extra 2 minutes walk to get my lunch.
Exactly. I mean, when we were house hunting, I was looking in a completely different area, and this house kept coming up. And it's
Oh,
like it's in the wrong area. And then every time that house would come up. And it's like, right, okay, I'm going to go and see this damn house while I'm here. Like completely different area, different region,
yeah,
completely. Um, so I came to see the house. I drove up the drive. I was like, oh my God, it's my house. But on
yeah,
paper, it was not my house.
no.
When I looked at like the floor plans and all of that, it's like, no, that house doesn't work. No. And then the instant I was here, it's like, oh my God, this is our house.
It's so good that they kept going. It's almost like, no, you are having this house.
Yeah,
Susie's going, no, get out of the way. Where's the one I want? It's like, no, no, you are having this
you
house.
are having this house. Yeah,
But we don't,
100%. Like every time we looked, it came up.
but we
It
just
was,
don't
yeah. And
we
it's
don't
like,
always get multiple nudges though. So you've got to listen the first time. You were really, really lucky, but we don't always get more than one go. So yeah,
yeah. I mean, in my experience, because I do have a tendency to ignore things because I get caught up with things, I will get something two or three times. And I think, like, if we're like talking about law of attraction here, if we're trying to attract something and you start to get the message like three times, then, that's a really clear sign. The universe is shouting at you,
yeah, yeah. I
right?
must admit, after the first two now, I don't bother with the third. If you've had to give it to me twice, I've got the message. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, but no, I like the third time because it's like, right, yes, that's the third time, I might have seen it, heard it, received it, whatever.
Yeah.
And I personally like three. If it's something big, I like three indications.
Well, I used to go with that, but I started to think, look, I don't need it 3 times. If you give it to me more than once, I'm okay with it. So,
Okay.
but whatever it takes, if you've got to get 5 lots of confirmation initially to build the trust bank, then do it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
100%. Just put
then
out there what you want. Show me peacocks 5 times today.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah. I'm going to go with the peacocks. There's something that I need some intuition on. So I'm going to go with the peacocks because you don't see many of those where I live.
yeah,
No, you don't
yeah,
see it.
yeah. Yeah, you don't see many here either. So peacock's a good one and it's beautiful colours. So and very spiritual. So it's a good one.
Excellent. Well, I shall nick that one off you today then, because I've got a bit bored with elephants and flamingos and giraffes.
Yeah, go for a good old flamingo. Peacock even.
Excellent.
Awesome.
So, if anybody wants to work with us to develop their intuition, then you can find all our details in the show notes. I can't remember if last time we did the podcast, my membership portal was open, but you can do that on demand and just download what you want when you want. So, that's open as well.
Brilliant.
And we've got a free group. What's your group, Susie?
Mine is the Akashic Soul Temple. So
Excellent.
I'll put the link in the description for the YouTube.
Yeah, the podcast description.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's the one.
and and if you want to come and join my free group and get some little hits every day via my little lives, or just be with other people that are like-minded, because it does make such a difference when
Mm,
you're talking with people that think you've got 2 heads because you're talking about trusting your intuition. It makes it harder. Whereas when you're with other people and go, do you get this? And they can go, oh God, yeah, totally, all the time. It's so much more beneficial to have that support. So come and find us in my Soul Awakenings group. I'll put the link below, and we will be back with you next week.
absolutely. Looking forward to it. Don't know what we're discussing. So if you have an idea or something you'd like more information on, then let us know in the comments. We're always happy to talk about different things. If you want to build your intuition, you can do with the Akashic Soul Alchemy Oracle deck, which I will put the link in the description for as well.
Fantastic. So give us your comments, give us your questions. We're happy to go with whatever subject you guys want. And we'd love it if you'd like us, leave us a review, and subscribe to us, whichever platform you're listening on.
Awesome. And we'll see you next week.
Great. See you later.